Welcome student to massive open online course on Indian economy. Now I am going to discuss the module entitled Regional Imbalances in India. After completing this module, you are able to know the causes of regional imbalances. It also helps you to understand the extent of regional imbalances in respect of income disparity, and you will also able to understand the extent of regional imbalances in respect of some development indicators like urbanization, literacy rate, road density, poverty, etc. The module consists with 6 sections. Section 1 introduces the concepts of region as well as regional imbalances, whereas Section 2 deals with the causes behind the regional imbalances. And Section 3 is the empirical evidence of regional imbalances to understand the extent of regional imbalances by the means of income disparity. Whereas Section 4 describes the regional imbalances in respect of some development indicator, and Section 5 is the multidimensional poverty or variation of the multidimensional poverty to understand the regional imbalances. And finally, Section 6 makes some concluding observations. The concept region is linked with the space and it has the spatial dimension. In India, the states are treated as the region and they are formed on a linguistic basis. The region has a specific administrative entity and has a specific geographical boundary. Side by side, it has under a specific administrative unit. Whereas the regional imbalances means the variation of the status of development across different regions. Here we will mainly discuss the regional imbalances in respect of the states of India, that is the variation of the development status of different states in India. Before going to discuss the extent of regional imbalances, we can discuss the reasons behind the regional imbalances. The Nobel laureate economist Professor Gunnar Myrdal emphasized the regional imbalances in his theory of economic underdevelopment and development. He postulated two types of effects, backwash effects and spread effects, to understand the regional imbalances. The backwash effects can be defined as the relevant adverse changes of the economic expansion in a region caused outside that region, whereas according to Myrdal, the spread effects refer to the specific centrifugal effects of expansionary momentum from the center of economic expansion to other regions. And according to Myrdal, the causes behind regional imbalances is the strong backwash effects and weak spread effects in the underdeveloped countries. Along with this, two separate regions are also identified for the regional imbalances. One is natural regional imbalances and another is man-made regional imbalances. In case of natural regional imbalances, different regions are endowed with different natural resources gifted by the nature. Therefore, their development status are also different, and this variation of the development status is natural. There is no human intervention. On the other hand, the man-made regional imbalances is due to the human intervention or human activities. Some favorable human activities for the development of a region are effective for the development of this particular region, whereas some adverse activities of the human being may also cause for the underdevelopment of a particular region. In our country, along with the natural regional imbalances, historical regions are also equally important for the regional imbalances. It is also true that different 5 years plan in our country have been targeted to reduce the regional imbalances in our country, and government also introduced different policies and program to overcome the regional imbalances. But despite this regional imbalances policies and program, the states in our country are widely varied in respect of different economic and development indicators. We will discuss this variation of development indicators, specifically economic development indicators across states of India. First off, we consider the income disparity. Income disparity to understand the extent of regional imbalances across states of India. This income disparity can be understood by the variation of the per capita income, that is per capita state domestic product across states of India, per capita growth rate of the state domestic product, as well as structural changes of the state domestic product. If we consider the income disparity across states of India, then there are some important features that help us to understand the extent of income disparity in India. At first, this per capita state domestic product is widely varied across states of India. In 2011-12, it varies from rupees 2,59,444 in Goa to rupees 21,750 in Bihar. That is the highest per capita income having Goa. The value is rupees 2,59,440, whereas the lowest per capita income is experienced by Bihar and its value is only 21,750. And this variation of the per capita income also increased during the latter period. In 2019-20, it varies from rupees 3,13,973 to rupees 29,794 of these respective states. This implies that the per capita income of Goa is 11 times higher than the per capita income of the Bihar. This figure is helpful to understand the extent of income disparity across the high income state and the low income states in our country. Side by side, it is also true that not only Goa, the per capita income of Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Gujarat and Maharashtra are also relatively high, whereas the per capita income of Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Manipur, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar are relatively low, and they are the bottom 5 states. Not only this variation of the per capita income, but there is a wide variation of the growth rate of this per capita income. There are some states having the growth rate of the per capita income during this period, that is 2011-12 to 2019-20, was more than 8% per annum, whereas there are some states where the growth rate is less than 4% per annum. Not only that, this variation of the growth rate of per capita income is also important to understand whether there is the evidence of convergence or not. If we see the growth rate of the per capita income of high income states, then their growth rate is relatively higher compared to the growth rate of the lower income states. That is, there is no evidence of convergence of income across states in our country. Now we can explain the income disparity by the means of structural change. This structural change is also equally important to understand the development status. During the course of development, there is a specific type of structural change, and it indicates that during the course of development, the relative importance of agriculture sector is gradually decreasing, whereas the relative importance of industry and service sectors are gradually increasing. Therefore, the percentage share of income of industry sector and service sector help us to understand the extent of structural change of different states in our country. This particular figure help us to understand the variation of the contribution of industrial output to total output across states in our country, and this is for the specific year 2019 and 20. And there is also wide variation of the industrial production across states of India. The percentage share of industrial output to total output was highest in Sikkim, which was 61%, and lowest in Manipur, which was only 12%. The percentage share of industrial output to total output were also high along with Sikkim, the Goa, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat as well as Chhattisgarh. Whereas the contribution of industry is relatively less in case of Bihar, Meghalaya, Nagaland and Manipur. That is, there is a wide variation of the industrialization across states of India. That also indicates wide variation of the status of development across states of India. Side by side, if we look into the variation of the tertiarization across states of India, we can measure the tertiarization by the percentage share of service sector output to total output. This figure helps us to understand the extent of variation of the tertiarization across states of India. In case of Kerala, the share of service sector is 66% and also for the Manipur. But in case of Sikkim, it is only 31%. The contribution of the service sector is also relatively less in case of Chhattisgarh, Goa, Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh. Whereas the contribution of the service sector output to total output is relatively high along with Kerala and Manipur. Other states are Meghalaya, Karnataka, Nagaland. That is, these figures, empirical evidence help us to understand the extent of tertiarization across states of India, that is extent of variation of development in terms of the tertiarization. This is section 4. This section 4 helps us to understand the disparities or regional imbalances in respect of some development indicators. Here we consider literacy rate, urbanization, road density and poverty to understand the regional imbalances across states of India. First up, we consider the literacy rate. National Family Health Survey, the latest National Family Health Survey, which was published in 2019 and 20, also pointed out the literacy rate of Indian adults for the year 2019 and 21. And in our country, 78% of Indian adults are literate. But when we look into the literacy rate, adult literacy rate across states of India, there is huge variation of this literacy rate. In case of Kerala, the literacy rate is maximum, which is 96%, whereas in case of Andhra Pradesh, it is only 66%. In case of Arunachal Pradesh, it is 67%. In case of Rajasthan, it is 70%. In case of Bihar, it is 71%. Some other states with high literacy rates are Mizoram, Tripura, Uttarakhand and Goa, along with Kerala. That is, there is a huge variation of the literacy rate across states of India. Another surprising feature is that the literacy gap, that is the gap between male and female literacy rates, are also widely varied across states of India. And this is an important indicator to understand the development of a particular region. If you consider Kerala, then the literacy gap is only 2%, whereas in case of Rajasthan, the literacy gap in between male and female is 23 percentage points. In case of Kerala, 97% males are literate and 95% females are literate. Therefore, the literacy gap is 2%. The literacy gap is also relatively less in case of Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland as well as West Bengal. And this literacy gap is relatively high in Rajasthan, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Jammu Kashmir, Chhattisgarh, and even Haryana. This extent of variation of the male and female literacy gap also help us to understand the extent of regional imbalance in respect of the education. Another important factor here you consider to understand the regional imbalances, that is the urbanization. This urbanization is a very important factor of the development. Urbanization means the increasing percentage share of urban population to total population. And this percentage share of urban population to total population is also widely varied across states of India. This particular bar diagram help us to understand the extent of variation of urbanization across states of India. Here you consider particular census year 2011, that is the latest census in our country. The urbanization was 62% in case of Goa, whereas the rate of urbanization is only 10% in case of Arunachal Pradesh. In case of Bihar, it is only 11%. In case of Assam, it is 14%. In case of Odisha, it is 17%. In case of Meghalaya, it is 20%. That is, for these 5 states like Meghalaya, Odisha, Assam, Bihar, and Arunachal Pradesh, the urbanization is less than 20%, whereas the urbanization is relatively high in case of Goa, Mizoram, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Maharashtra. Another factor is road density. That is also a very important factor for the development and underdevelopment of a region. Road density can be measured by the total available road network divided by the area of the particular state. To calculate the total rate network, here we considered national and state highways, district, rural, urban, and project roads. And the state area is measured by 1000 square km. Therefore, the figures that we have presented in this bar diagram are the road density of a particular state per 1000 square km. And if we look into this bar diagram, then we can easily understand the extent of variation of the road density across states of India. In case of Kerala, the road density is 6690, whereas in case of Jammu Kashmir, it is only 540 km. In case of Arunachal Pradesh, it is 660 km. In case of Mizoram, it is 771 km. Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan also having road density less than 1000 square km, whereas the road density also high in Kerala, Assam, Goa, even Tripura. This highly variation or the high variation of the road density across states of India is also caused for the regional imbalances. Now we come to the variation of the poverty across states of India. Here we will discuss 2 types of poverty. One is monetary poverty, another is multidimensional poverty. In case of monetary poverty, poverty is measured on the basis of monetary value of monthly per capita consumption expenditure. And this measurement is based on the consumption expenditure survey of National Sample Survey Organization. And in India, there is a long tradition of the measurement of poverty in respect of this monetary measurement of the poverty, which is based on the poverty line concept as well as monthly per capita consumption expenditure. This particular figure help us to understand the extent of variation of the head count ratio across states of India for the particular year 2011-12. Here you consider this year because the latest national sample survey related with consumption expenditure was published in the year 2011-12. Therefore, this poverty is the scenario of the 2011 and 12. Now we come to the variation of the head count ratio across states of India. Head count ratio means percentage of poor people to the total people. This percentage of the poor people to total people was relatively high, not relatively high, was very high, we can say, in case of Chhattisgarh, where the share was 48%. In case of Manipur, the share was 47%. In case of Odisha, it was 46%. In case of Madhya Pradesh, it is 44%. Whereas this percentage of poverty or head count ratio was relatively low in case of Goa, it is only 6%. And in case of Kerala, Punjab and Himachal Pradesh, 11% each. In case of Nagaland, Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, the head count ratio is also relatively less. In all over India, the percentage of poor people was 30%. Therefore, there is a number of states having the head count ratio higher than the national average. This information helps us to understand the variation of the regional imbalances or regional disparities in terms of the variation of the percentage of the poor people. The section 5 deals with the regional imbalances in respect of the variation of the multidimensional poverty. In our country, it is the first time Niti Aayog estimates the multidimensional poverty in the year 2021 on the basis of National Family Health Survey of 2015 and 16. And to measure the multidimensional poverty index or multidimensional poverty, they have considered multiple dimensions, specifically 3 dimensions: education, health and standard of living. Side by side, each of these dimensions also consists with a number of indicators. On the basis of measurement of the deprivation, we can able to measure the multidimensional poverty or multidimensional poverty index. The detailed methodology of the multidimensional poverty is also explained in a different module, in other modules. Therefore, here we do not go details regarding the discussion of the measurement of the multidimensional poverty. Rather, here we only explain the empirical facts of the multidimensional poverty estimated by Niti Aayog. These figures help us to understand the scenario of the multidimensional head count ratio across states of India. Side by side, it is also equally important to understand the regional imbalances in respect of the multidimensional poverty across states of India. If we look into this figure, then it is the government estimated result estimated by Niti Aayog. The multidimensional head count ratio in case of Bihar was 51.91%, that is nearly 52% in the year 2015-16. That is more than 50% people are multidimensionally poor. Whereas in case of Kerala, it was only 0.71%, that is less than 1% people are multidimensionally poor. This figure help us to understand the variation of the multidimensional poverty, extent of multidimensional poverty or extent of regional imbalances in our country. That is, there is a huge variation, 1% to 52% of multidimensional poor people across states of India. The multidimensional poor people are also relatively high in case of Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. And this multidimensionally poor people, percentage share of multidimensional poor people are also relatively less in case of Kerala, Goa, Sikkim and Tamil Nadu, where the share is less than 5%. Along with this estimation of the multidimensional poverty, here we also explain our estimation of the multidimensional poverty, and our estimation of the multidimensional poverty also help us to understand the variation of the multidimensional poverty across states of India. Side by side, the speed of reduction of the multidimensional poverty during the decade 2005-6 to 2015-16. This change of the multidimensional poverty we cannot able to understand from the measurement of the Niti Aayog, because this measurement of the Niti Aayog is only for the year 2015-16. Therefore, here we consider our own estimation to understand the extent of the multidimensional poverty, extent of variation of the multidimensional poverty across states of India. And here we have estimated 3 specific measures of multidimensional poverty index and its 2 component, multidimensional head count ratio and extent of multidimensional poverty. As regards the multidimensional poverty index, there is a huge variation across states of India. In case of Bihar, the value is the highest and it is 0.245, whereas in case of Kerala it is least, the value is only 0.004. Not only that, across states of India, the multidimensional poverty mainly concentrated in 2 states, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, where out of total multidimensionally poor people, around 42% people are located in these 2 specific states, though their share of population is around 20%. These figures help us to understand, or these empirical facts help us to understand the high concentration of multidimensional poverty in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Side by side, it is also true that the reduction of the multidimensional poverty are also different across states of India. The reduction of the multidimensional poverty was relatively high in Andhra Pradesh, Tripura, Chhattisgarh, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, West Bengal and Karnataka. Whereas the reduction of the multidimensional poverty during 2005-6 to 2015-16, our considered period, was relatively lower in case of Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Now we come to the conclusion. On the basis of empirical evidence of different indicators across states of India, we can say that there is a huge variation across states of India, that is, Indian economy is experienced high regional imbalances. It is also true that government introduced different pro-backward policies and program, but due to the ineffectiveness of these policies and program, still there is a high regional imbalances in our country. Therefore, specific policies and program are essential to overcome these regional imbalances in our country. Thank you.